Jai Hind and a very warm morning to our esteemed guests, respected faculty members and dear friends. Myself, Battu Sara Reddy from TYBSCCS, here on behalf of the Defence Club. Marathwada Mitra Mandal's College of Commerce is one of the reputed institutions in Pune, known for its commitment to academic excellence and the holistic development of students. The college not only focuses on quality education but also encourages students to participate in various co-curricular and career-oriented initiatives. Our institute has been running a competitive examination center since 2020 with the motto of guiding students for various competitive examinations such as UPSC, MPSC, Maharashtra Public Defense Services, Banking Services, CA, CS, and CMA. In line with our institute's vision of the welfare of the masses, these facilities, including library access, study material, and guidance sessions, are provided extremely free of cost to supply deserving and needy students. The Defence Club of our college, with the inspiring motto Prayatna Sarva Siddhi Sadhanam, which means effort is the path to every success. Through this club, we aim to motivate and guide students who aspire to serve the nation through the defense services. Today, under the Defense Club, we have organized a special guest session on opportunities in defense sessions by Lieutenant Vamshi. Success in the armed forces is not just about intelligence or physical strength, it is about perseverance, resilience, and the courage to keep moving forward despite failures. Our guest today is someone who truly embodies these qualities. It is my honor to introduce Lieutenant Vamshi Sir, a former officer of the Indian Army who has transformed his personal journey into a source of inspiration for thousands of defense aspirants. Like many young students, he explored different career possibilities before discovering his passion for the armed forces. Once he decided to pursue this path, he committed himself fully, developing the discipline, mindset, and physical fitness required to become an officer. His journey to the Service Selection Board was not easy. It involved multiple attempts, continuous self improvement, and an unwavering belief in his goal. Eventually, his persistence paid off when he was recommended at 3 AFSB Gandhinagar, marking a defining moment in his journey. He was recommended for the armed forces. Later, he secured All India Rank 10 in CDS Examination 2 2019 for AFE and AIR-34 for IMA and joined the Indian Military Academy Dehradun, after which he was commissioned as an officer in the Indian Army in the Corps of Signals. Although he initially aspired to become a fighter pilot, medical limitations prevented him from pursuing the flying branch. But instead of seeing this as a setback, he embraced the opportunity to serve the nation in another capacity, demonstrating the true spirit of leadership and service. Today, through his mentorship platform SSB Bro, he continues to guide defense aspirants across the country. Through SSB Bro, he has already motivated almost 5,000 students and helped 36 defense aspirants get recommended in the SSB, guiding them through the process and helping them build the mindset required to succeed. Many of his mentees have successfully cleared the SSB and now are proudly serving as officers in the armed forces. His mission is simple yet powerful: to help aspirants understand the SSB process, build the right mindset, and develop the qualities required to succeed, not just as officers but as responsible leaders in life. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Lieutenant Vamshi for today's session. Before we begin the session, we would like to take a moment to felicitate our respected guest, Lieutenant Vamshi Sir. I request Principal Sir, Dr. Kishore Nikam Sir, to present a token of love and appreciation to Sir. Thank you, sir. I request Dr. Sandeep Anpat sir, coordinator of CEC, to felicitate Dr. Kishore Nikam sir.
Your time of start was actually 10 a.m., so I will not speak much. Already you are waiting for 10-20 minutes. So Dr. Vamshi has done a lot of work in the field of defense. His journey is very interesting, and I strongly believe that he will be inspired, motivated by listening to his commandments basically, because he has an experience. What you dream, that is his experience. So I hope you will take it very positively. Any questions if you will have, you can ask him so that you can get the pathway to reach up to your dreams. Thank you.
Without wasting much time, I would like to invite Vamshi sir to share his experiences and guide us on the preparation for defense services.
ये खाना पड़ेगा आप लोग खाना पड़ेगा जो टैगिंग कौन काटते जो टैगिंग वहाँ पे जो टैगिंग काटते हैं ना हाँ
Good morning, MMCC.
Good morning,
sir. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, sir. Thank you. I was just checking you. Actually, this is not required. All right. See, let's not go into all these slides.
Actually, this
Live streams are there.
so
Mic lag.
can have live.
Okay. All right. I've been forced to use the mic, so bear with the loud volume and maybe some echo. Yeah, I wanted to cover SSB interview in depth, take you through all the stages of selection, what modes of entry are available, and later, even after SSB, how do you go through medicals, and later, I wanted to share a few personal experiences of training at IMA, and then later, how service life is as officers in the armed forces, Army, Navy, and Air Force specifically. So, इतना time नहीं बचा है. We are half an hour late, so I'll keep it light. Let's keep it very informal. I want you to interact throughout this session. Let it not be me speaking and you listening. If you want, use your phones freely. If you want, record it. Do whatever you want to do. But try to be as interactive as possible. Ask me questions in between. Interrupt me. Don't make it a boring lecture. Let me not take you through slides and you listening. वैसे नहीं करेंगे. Be as enthusiastic as possible throughout, because that is when most learning happens. So, yeah, most of you would already know, because more than half of you are in NCC uniforms. You would already know different modes of entries into the armed forces as officers. Well, there are two cadres in the armed forces. There is the other ranks and there are officers. So other ranks, as you all know, is through the Agniveer scheme. The Agnipath scheme, and people who get recruited are called Agniveers. Basic qualifications are for you to have passed 8 standard, 10 standard, and in technical arms you need to have 12 standard as qualification. So people who come from humble backgrounds, who want to serve in forces as people in non-officer cadre, they join as Agniveers. They get an initial service of 4 years, including their training. And after 2 years of service, they can opt for this entry called ACC or Army Cadet College. If you are less than 19 years of age, I would like you to explore this as well and tell others in your hometowns, in your villages, in your friend circle about this entry. Many of you directly want to become officers by cracking these exams, clearing the SSB interview. That is one way to go about it, but there's also an equally good entry, the ACC entry. So if you join as Agniveers, you will be trained for the initial part of your career. Post 2 years of service, you can opt for this exam. It's a fairly easy exam, consists of GK, English, and Math, like any other competitive exam outside. But the advantage here is only people in service can write it. So you clear this exam and then you get the same services selection board interview. So how many of you know what SSB is? Services selection board interview क्या होती है उसमें what all it is. So most of you are not aware. Okay, phrased properly. So around 30-40% of the audience knows what SSB is. So I take you through how this interview is over the 5 days, what all happens, and how you can prepare yourself for those 5 days. And before that, what are the entry modes? So I started with ACC entry, that is you joining as a soldier, as an Agniveer, and then later on opting for becoming an officer. The other modes are, if you are still young, if any first years, all first years, okay. If you are still less than 19 years, around 18 and a half, if you are, you can also try for all the 10+2 entries. NDA, must have heard, all of you are here in Pune. NDA is in the vicinity, so you can try. Hello. National Defence Academy takes people after their 12th. So if you clear this exam called NDA and NA, conducted every 6 months by UPSC, it's a fairly difficult exam. I wouldn't say it is as easy as any other competitive exam you have. Consists of GS and math is also almost till JE level. So unless you put in at least 6 months to 1 year of preparation, it's not a very easy exam to crack. So once you clear this exam, you get an opportunity to face SSB interview or the Services Selection Board interview. It's a procedure for 5 days. I'll tell you later on what all happens in those 5 days. But for now, we'll talk about different modes of entry for you to get the interview, to get to attend the interview. So one was ACC that I covered initially. If you are good in academics, if you can clear this competitive exam, then NDA is a very good route to become an officer directly after your 12th. So you will be trained in NDA for 3 years, and later on you will be sent to respective academies depending on which service you get. Air Force folks go to Air Force Academy Dundigal. Navy folks go to Indian Naval Academy Arimala, that's in Kerala, and Army cadets go to Indian Military Academy Dehradun for the last 1 year. So 3 years in NDA and last 1 year in your respective academies, depending on what service you get. So even while writing NDA, you opt for your service preference. So depending on which order of preference you have filled and based on your merit. So initially all the first preferences are filled by people who get higher rank in the merit after this exam and services selection board. So a combination of your SSB interview marks and your written exam marks are taken, and thereafter the merit is prepared, through which you join National Defence Academy. In 10+2, if how many of you are from science? 10+2 in science? Most of you. So TS entry, if you haven't come across, is technical entry scheme. So after your 11th and 12th in science, you can opt for TES. यहाँ पे there's no UPSC exam, there's no difficult exam like NDA, but the catch is you should score good in your JEE. They call aspirants for SSB interview based on your JEE rank or percentile. Usually, if you are about 85 to 90 percentile in your JEE, you will get a call if you opt for it. So that is how it works. And another catch, there is no reservation in the armed forces, so there is no category-based, income-based criteria. It is purely based on merit, so everyone has equal opportunity. JEE percentile ke basis pe you get an interview call. All of you can just visit joinindianarmy.nic.in website. You can find all this there as well, but I have tried to cover different entries in these slides also. But yeah, overall NDA was one route. TES is another. If you are having science background in your 10+2, there's another route 10+2 Navy BTech entry where after your 12th again, based on your JEE percentile, you can opt for the Indian Navy where 4 years of BTech will be done by you in Indian Naval Academy. Like any other engineering college, Because unlike other colleges, it's a defense academy. You will be trained hard to become an officer, but in the meantime, you'll also get your BTech degree. Just like NDA folks get BSc, BA degrees, you will be doing a technical degree while becoming an officer in the Indian Navy. So these are the three entry modes after your 10 plus 2. If you are less than 19 and a half years of age, exact age limit you can just go online and check whether you are eligible. So if you have any friends in your juniors amongst your batchmates who are less than 19 and a half years of age, you can let them know about these three entries plus the Agnivir 2 ACC entry. So these are the four types of entries available for officer aspirants when you are in this age bracket. Once you cross this age limit, you go ahead with your graduation. And during your final year of graduation and after completing graduation, there are various entries available in Navy, Army, and Air Force. I'll just touch upon the popular entries available. The most popular one is your CDS, Combined Defense Services Exam. I also joined the Army through this entry. So again, UPSC conducts this exam every 6 months. So the upcoming exam is on April 12th. Is anyone here who is giving CDS? Very few. Okay, a few of you. You are not eligible, but you are giving it as a dummy attempt, right? So yeah, you can do that as well. So the eligibility is for you to be in final year of graduation, any graduation. It does not matter whether you are in science, commerce, arts, medical, doesn't matter. Any recognized degree program with a bare minimum percentage, 55, even if you are just borderline pass, the eligibility is only having graduated. So if you are in your final year or if you have cleared graduation, that is, you will be in that stage in the next 2 3 years. So you can give Combined Defense Services exam, and I'll tell you बहुत ऊपर से in a very crunch way on how you can prepare for this exam. See, there are three papers: maths, English, and general science or general knowledge (GK). So maths, unless you are already well with the basic concepts, 10 plus 2 तक अगर maths नहीं किया है, some people would have gotten rid of maths after 10. हमें नहीं करना. I was not one among them. I did maths till my 12th. But if you are weak in maths, you can opt for OTA as well. Officers Training Academy Chennai, open for both girls and boys. They do not have maths in their selection criteria. So CDS mein you can opt out of maths paper and you can give only GK and English. And there will be a certain cutoff. If you clear that score, you will be called for an SSB interview for OTA only, Officers Training Academy. For the remaining three academies, that is Indian Military Academy, Dehradun, Air Force Academy, Dundigal, and Indian Naval Academy, Arimala, it is mandatory to have maths paper given and cleared. And then if you clear the overall cutoff for these academies, you will be called by the Services Selection Board again, and you will be sitting through those 5 days of selection. This is the most popular entry, the Combined Defense Services. Another equally popular entry is AFCAT. If you are an Air Force aspirant, you cannot join the Army and Navy through this entry. AFCAT stands for Air Force Common Admission Test. So the Indian Air Force conducts this exam again once every 6 months. So if you are in your final year of graduation or just after completing graduation, you can opt for this. You can go through the official notification once. I don't want to get into all the details, basic eligibility, what subjects you should have studied, what papers are coming. I don't want to cover all those in depth. So please go through the official notifications of these exams. After again, you clear the exam. If you score above the cutoff score, you will be called by Air Force Selection Board. So Services Selection Board is common across services. They call it by different names. If you are called by the Air Force, it's called AFSB, Air Force Selection Board. If you are called by the Navy, it's called Naval Selection Board, NSB. If you are called by the Army, it's called Services Selection Board. And if you are called by the Coast Guard, it's called Coast Guard Selection Board. But the procedure remains the same. 5 days and the tests remain the same. So I'll call it SSB for ease of communication. I'll call it SSB across this session. So assume based on the service choice you have, it is either AFSB or NSB or SSB or CGSB. So you will be called for the interview, and again, after 5 days, if you get recommended, you will be eligible to join as officers in the Indian Air Force. Different branches: flying, non-flying, ground duty, technical, ground duty, non-technical. Based on which course you are pursuing in your graduation, you can opt for whichever entries you are eligible for. Other entries, none of you are engineers, right? Is there any engineer in the audience? Okay. Okay, a few of you. So you have your technical entries, and unfortunately for you, the entries are getting closed. I mean, direct entries are getting closed, but opportunities are still the same. So till now, there were entries where there's no written exam. If you have a certain percentage in your engineering, depending on your branch, civil, mechanical, computer science, electrical, etc., you were called by the SSB for the interview without any written exam. So that entry is modified now. There's a UPSC exam coming up. It's called CDST, Combined Defense Services Technical Examination. So these folks will have to write this exam when the notification comes up. I think it will start from second cycle this year. I told you these exams are conducted every 6 months, right? So from the coming cycle, that is CDS 2 2026, even technical entries will be converted into a UPSC exam. So, bad luck and good for other people. The complaints used to come asking why engineers are given undue advantage or preference. Honestly, 4 or 5 decades back, let's say, when engineering was a very elite degree, only the most academically sound or passionate individuals used to opt for it. But now, no offense to the engineering students, it has become just like any other degree. With the number of engineering colleges in India, it has become equivalent to any other graduation. So that entry does not make much sense to the higher authorities. So they have removed this entry, and it will also add a lot of pressure on the services selection board, right? If so many people are coming in directly, then it's very difficult to shortlist them and then go on to assess them for 5 days. So this will add a filter before they come for SSB itself. They should have cleared a UPSC exam, which reduces the crowd and also ensures quality of people coming in. So those are for the engineering people. And other entries like there's Navy direct entries again for technical folks, and a few other entries which are not so popular, but you can explore them on Join Indian Army, Join Indian Navy, and Join Indian Air Force websites. So once you clear these stages, that is all the entry modes I mentioned, you will be called for the SSB interview, I told you, 5-day procedure. Uh,
Audible, sir, audible.
So let's quickly understand what happens in SSB. Has anyone been through SSB interview before, except you? Anyone? Okay, so all of you are fresh to this. So I'll explain to you in a little more detail. So Services Selection Board interview is basically looking for suitability. Remember this one word. There are different jargons: officer-like qualities, armed forces potential, officer material, etc., etc. But in simple terms, it is an interview which checks whether you as a candidate is suitable to become an officer in the forces, depending on the requirements of the job. See, has anyone of you heard of these 15 officer-like qualities which the SSB interview looks for? So in the armed forces, the nature of job is different. Let's say you become an engineer or a doctor or a CA or a lawyer or any other career you want to pursue. Job requirements are different. वहाँ पे, if you have technical knowledge of that subject, if you are good in core knowledge of your subject, you will do well. But in the armed forces, the requirement is very, very different. We or the armed forces look for people who have an all-round personality. You may be expected to lead in peace. You may be expected to go do action and win wars. You may be expected to do a technical job where most of your academic rigor will be used. So the requirements are varied, but you need not be best at everything, but you need to be at least good in all these areas. So they look for an all-rounder who can tackle all these responsibilities while maintaining the rigor expected out of an officer. So to ensure the right people are selected, this selection procedure has come in place, and it has been the same since many, many decades from the time we got independent. And mostly armed forces across the world also use similar procedures. The British armed forces, the US forces, any armed forces in the world have similar selection procedures for their officer cadre. So what they are looking for during this interview is whether you have the required qualities. So what these qualities are, let's not go into too many technical details, but overall there are four different factors. One is your intelligence factor, another is your leadership, another is your group abilities, and fourth is your personal, related to your body and physical outlook, your confidence, courage, stamina, etc. So these 15 officer-like qualities divided into four factors have been observed to be crucial for any person being in the armed forces, especially in the officer cadre. Why we do not look for these qualities in Agniveers or people who join as not officers is the responsibility an officer is expected to handle and the nature of the job itself is different compared to soldiers or regular recruits. So they are tested for their physical fitness, for their ability to do basic academics, and their discipline and motivation to join the forces. Their barrier to entry is a little lesser, physically more demanding. In SSB interview, we do not look for physical fitness to that extent, but for recruits, for Agniveers, physical fitness is the first criteria set. The nature of the job is such, right? Because officers are expected to command, to lead, and to take responsibility of the outcomes. Even if you observe the uniforms, officers have their stars or their ranks on their shoulders, and all the other ranks have it on their shoulders, which goes on to say the responsibility of the task is on the officer, and the implementation is done by the soldier cadre. So, in order to tackle those responsibilities, to prove that you are worthy of that profession, you need to clear this interview, which happens across 5 days. And I'll take you through what all they check for and how you can prepare for each of these tests. There's no separate learning technique or let's say if you are writing any other exam, if you are giving, let's say, an engineering entrance exam, there is a set pattern. There are questions coming from different chapters, and the syllabus is laid out. So you prepare for it. You give as many questions as possible, and if you score above a certain score, you are selected. But in the SSB, the logic is completely different. You are checked across these 15 officer-like qualities, and across all 15, you are expected to score above a certain limit. So even if you are good at, let's say, 10 to 12 of the qualities and the remaining you are not up to the mark, you are not recommended because every quality which has been laid out is very, very important. And even if you are lacking in one of them, it is highly unlikely that you will succeed as an officer. So you need not outscore everyone or you need not be extremely good in one or two of these qualities, but you should be above the bare minimum in all these qualities. And it has to be exhibited through your various actions, words, and responses in your psychology test, which I will explain in some time. So the most important thing for you to remember is why they are looking for these qualities. How is it relevant to the profession of arms? So let's say some of these qualities are lacking. What can be the after effects of selecting a wrong candidate? If you know this logic, if you know why this selection system has come in place, it will be far easier for you to prepare for these tests. The problem in the current this SSB preparation ecosystem is people know what tests are given, how they are timed, what they are looking for, how to outshine and exhibit a great performance. But they do not know the logic behind these tests and how you can actually prepare to face these tests instead of superficially preparing for each of the tasks. I told you across 5 days there are various tasks given to you, but the point is not for you to excel in these tasks. They are not looking at people who do extremely well in these tasks. They are looking for potential officers, and these tests are designed to just check whether you are a potential officer. It does not matter if you do bad in one task or if you do extremely good in one task. Overall, their logic from the selection point of view is to determine whether you are suitable overall to become an officer. So you can exhibit that across these 5 days by just being yourself. If you have built yourself over the past few months and years, see, SSB interview preparation is not something you can do in 1 day, 2 days, or across 1 month, 2 months. It has to be built over years. Even if, let's say, if you are not consciously preparing for SSB, basic things that you can do to improve your personality, improve your overall qualities are try to participate in as many events, as many opportunities, as many roles as possible during your college. In school, if let's say you were part of some sports team or you had some position of responsibility, class monitor, house captain, anything of that sort, these positions teach you things which regular classrooms don't. You are supposed to give instructions to people, you are supposed to take feedback, improve yourself, while making sure the group outcomes are achieved. You are improving yourself as a person. There is conflict, there is decision making, there is time limit across many instances. So during this process, you get the skill of handling pressure, maintaining a decorum amongst your subordinates. So all these are not gained by reading something or preparing for an interview. These are skills which are gained over time. So starting from right now, if let's say your SSB interview may come after 1 year, 2 years, I would see most of you. I would like to see most of you preparing yourself with that motive in mind, improving your overall personality and suitability to become an officer. That should be your intention, and not trying to prepare for those tasks. See, in SSB interview, overall, there are three types of tasks which happen, or three assessment techniques. One is your psychology test, a series of indoor and written psychology tests. And there are some indoor plus outdoor, a combination of tasks which are done in a group setting. Those are called your GTO tasks. GTO is group testing officer. There is one officer who assesses you in a group environment. And there is one personal interview with a serving senior officer. There is a one-on-one interview which lasts close to 45 minutes to 1 hour usually, maybe a little lesser or more than that also. But these are the three techniques overall: psychology tests, GTO tasks, and the personal interview. So there's no technique for you to prepare for each of these tests individually. Although when your SSB interview is nearing, you can give a practice SSB, or you can see whether you are giving the right responses. But your preparation starts far before. Starting from your early childhood itself, there are some personality attributes which you have inherited from your parents, from your early upbringing. And throughout your formative years, you have developed these qualities in yourself. So these terms, let's say courage, stamina, ability to influence a group, uh, determination, all these are qualities which any person would have. So the armed forces expected at a certain level, which usually in other professions are not required. That is the only challenge. For you to improve these qualities, you need to participate, you need to put yourself out in as many fora as possible. Let's say in college, if you have opportunities to lead a sports team, to lead a club like this, or to start something on your own, or do something outside of regular academics, take as many opportunities as possible and try to challenge yourself. And when you do this over a number of instances across years, you are building yourself to become that officer material. So that is real SSB preparation. I don't want to give you tips on how to write your psychology test responses or what answers to give when an interviewing officer asks questions. I want you to prepare yourself overall as a person so that SSB interview can be cleared naturally. And that is the only way anyone will clear SSB. And even if some person says with 1 or 2 months of preparation I cleared SSB, it is actually because that person had built all these qualities across his formative years and during his childhood, college years, etc. Therefore, he or she was already prepared to give that interview. So overall, those last 1 2 months of preparation is only for you to fine tune your responses and make sure you are giving the right input or exhibiting yourself in the right way to the selection board. That is all. So last few months of preparation is only the final touch. Actual preparation happens from right now, or it has already started from your early childhood. And you being here itself is a privilege, because many people don't get to sit in good campuses like this, enjoying the privileges of having opportunities to study, to explore your interest. So you are already at a certain level. You are already beaten, let's say 80-90% of the crowd in India. And now you have to try to get to the top 1%. So that 90 to 99 journey is what you need to start now. So I don't want to give generic ज्ञान कि sports भी खेल लो, ये भी कर लो, वो भी कर लो. Based on your interests and based on the requirements of the armed forces, try to put yourself in these positions of responsibility, in these interest areas. Follow your own hobbies. Try to be good at what you are doing. That is real SSB preparation. If let's say you are many people you have different identities, right? You are a son or a daughter, you are a sibling, you are a student, you are also participating in different activities. So whatever position you are in, try to do justice to that. Be a good son or daughter to your parents, be a good student to your teachers, be a good friend to your friends. So these are the basic qualities that they are also looking for. If a person is good in his or her core responsibility, it is bound to happen that once they become an officer, they will be responsible there also. Overall, in your life, if you are doing the right things, if you are doing justice to your potential and to the opportunities given to you, that is all. That is real SSB preparation. And over the last 1 2 months, when you are about to give the interview, you can just give a mock, or you can see whether you have built all these qualities required and then go with confidence. That is all. If, let's say, you do not get recommended in your first attempt, I got recommended in my fifth attempt myself. So you get an opportunity to go through all these tests, your psychology tests, your personal interview, your GTO tasks, post which you can come back and have an introspection on what went right and what went wrong. Let's say in your first SSB interview, when you go, in your psychology tests, you could not. Okay, before going on explaining self introspection and all, let me tell you in detail what happens in these 5 days. So, day one, that is your screening tests. There are two tests that happen. One is OIR and the other is PPTT. OIR stands for Officer's Intelligence Rating. Officer Intelligence Rating in this abbreviation is called OIR. It is a simple test of aptitude, your verbal and non-verbal reasoning questions. So if you have written any competitive exams, there is one section which is only your basic aptitude. That is how well you figure out patterns, simple English, how good are you with your mathematics. Basic academic requirement, if you are fulfilling, it is most probable that you will be good in OIR. But for this, you can do further practice. There are specific books that come for OIR. There is one by R.S. Agarwal as well. So if you practice the kind of questions that come in OIR, it will be really easy for you to clear this test. And it comes with practice only. OIR, there is no other technique. The more and more you practice, the different kinds of questions you see and how you practice them over time will determine your OIR rating. So OIR is either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, depending on how much you score. You are given a certain rating for your intelligence. That is one. And PPDT is picture perception and description test. So in this, there is a hazy picture shown, a blurred, unclear image shown on a projector, and all of you, like you are sitting now, the candidates who report for the SSB interview are made to sit, and they are expected to write a story on the picture shown. So you will be projected the picture for 30 seconds, and then the picture will go off. In those 30 seconds, you observe every detail carefully. Although the picture is a little unclear, a little hazy, some details are evident, and you need to make an assumption on what the scenario is, what is happening, and you need to write a simple story on it. So you will be given 4 minutes to write a story. There are other details as well. You need to write the main character, what age or mood, or whether he is a male or female. All that is not required now. Very simply, it's a test of your imagination and your ability to put logical events in a sequence and come with a nice conclusion. That is all. So during this test, because the picture is unclear, candidates will come up with different stories. One may, if a person is running and someone is chasing him from behind, it can also be a running race. It can also be a thief running away and someone chasing him, or it can be two friends just jovially running on the road. So many people will have different perspectives based on what your thinking is and what you could observe. You write different stories, right? So after this, after the common sitting happens and you write a story on the picture, you are divided into small groups, usually 12 to 15 people per group, and you are taken into different rooms where you will be narrating these stories. Let's say uh, your group has 12 people, all 12 of you will be made to sit in a semicircle, and a group of three assessors, group testing officer, an interviewing officer, and a psychologist will sit, and your PPDT individual narration phase starts. This is where each one of you will stand up and narrate your story within 1 minute. A very simple story of one paragraph, let's say 10 to 12 lines maximum. It will take hardly 1 minute for you to explain. So you will just start by saying, I perceive so and so character, and this is the theme of my story, and this is what happened. This is how the situation came, and this is the action that the main character took, and this is the conclusion. In very simple story format, you will narrate it in 40 seconds to 1 minute. And similarly, all the candidates do this. After this individual narration phase, the group discussion starts where you as a group of 12 people need to come to a common story. So the real challenge comes here where I told you it's a hazy picture, nothing was very clear. So you would have written a story on a robbery, another person would have written a story on a running race, some person would have written there's no conflict, people are just running happily. So now it is your task as a group to come up with one common story across all 12 people. So people coming from different backgrounds, different contexts can never have the same thinking, can never come with the same story, right? So now the task is for you to discuss amongst each other and try to come up with logical consensus. यहाँ पे they are checking how well you can convince others, how well you can maintain your basic officer etiquette, how well you can put across your points with confidence, whether you can accept others' points when they are superior to you or they are better than you. These simple group behavioral patterns they are observing, and during the individual narration itself, they would have already observed your basic communication skills, your confidence. So it is not very easy if you are seated amongst 12, 15 people and three assessors, very senior officers are observing you. It's not very easy to stand up and narrate your story. At that phase itself, your confidence, your basic communication skills, your ability to have perceived the picture is already showed. And during the discussion phase, they look at other qualities, your group qualities and your basic leadership qualities. And your intelligence and basic time management and ability to handle stress, all these are already checked in your OIR. So across this first day, after these two tests, that is your OIR and your PPTT, a decision is taken on whether you can be progressed to the further stage, that is stage 2. So day 2, 3 and 4 and 5 are reserved for people who clear the first day of screening. So during your screening tests, let's say 200 to 50 people reported for the interview. Roughly 70 to 80% of people are sent back on day 1 because they are not up to the required standards in OIR and PPTT. Once you are in stage 2, all these other tests start. But for screening tests per se, unless you prepare well for this, there's no point in preparing for other tasks because you don't get to attempt them. You don't need to specifically prepare for these tests, as I told. Your daily routine, your lifestyle, what you are doing as a student, as a professional, as a son, daughter, etc. at home, itself would have prepared for this test. Specifically for screening tests, you need to have confidence while speaking in a group, basic ability to perceive an image and write a story on it. So for this test, you can do some basic practice. You can either just and my contact details are given here. So if you can just give me a text, I'll share all the material I have. So you can study from those, or basic practice you can start from now, for you to see at what level you are right now. It is not something which comes with continuous practice, so there's no need to just keep looking at pictures and write stories on a daily basis. Only if you can do it once or twice, then you have that natural ability. So there's no further practice required. So let's say you do not perform well, then you can do 4 or 5 more iterations of practice and then come to a level where you are confident. Yeah, now I can clear this task. So only for that purpose, try to do more and more practice. Otherwise, there's no point. बार-बार practice करने से maybe you will get better in English, math, or general knowledge, but these are tests which check your natural ability to do things. So you need to improve that ability, and clearing these tests will come as a byproduct. So you don't have to prepare specifically for these tests. So on day 1, your OER and PPDT will be done. From day 2, your other tests will start, your psychology tests, your personal interview, and your GTO tests. So across these 4 days, I don't want to get into the minute details of what all tests happen because it will be boring and you don't have to know about all these tasks at this stage. Overall preparation, I told you, for you to maintain your daily routine, for you to be good in physical fitness, for you to be good in everything that you are doing currently as a student. So now, for you to reach the standards which they are expecting, one basic thing you can do is first give yourself a simple mock test of what happens there. So in psychology tests, I'll explain to you in brief what tests happen. In psychology tests, there are 4 tests. One is your EAT, or the thematic perception test. Very similar to PPDT, a picture will be shown, hazy picture for around 30 seconds, and then you are expected to write a story for 4 minutes, and this happens across 12 pictures. So first picture, 30 seconds project hoga, and then you will write a story for 4 minutes. Immediately the second picture is shown, same thing, you will write a story for 4 minutes. And this repeats across 12 pictures. 11 pictures that there's a actual image shown, and the 12 blank slide is shown where there's nothing projected. You are free to write your own story. You can imagine a picture, or if you have a story prepared beforehand, you can just write that story. And after these 12 pictures, the thematic perception test ends, and this entire series of psychology tests, that is your TAT, WAT, SRT, and SD, happen one after the other without any break in between. So overall, you should be having the ability to focus and be at the right mindset across, let's say, 1.5 to 2 hours, which is not very easy, especially given the attention span we people have these days. That also is a skill which comes with regular practice by reading books, by focusing on something for an extended period of time. Try to get rid of addiction to social media. I'm not saying it is bad, but it is bad after a certain point. So it will have an effect on your performances these days, not very directly, but in some sense you will not perform to your best ability if you have an addiction of social media, or if overall if your attention span is less and if your ability to focus is not that good, your psychology test will not go well. So one catch is for you to have the ability to have focus for an extended period of time. Because this quality is important once you become an officer, you will be under circumstances where continuous vigilance or continuous observation is required, and decisions also will be taken in a very, very stressful environment. So unless you have that natural ability, it's difficult to handle the rigor of being an officer. So all these requirements are tested during your selection procedure in very, very simple ways. So let's say you are able to focus for 2 hours, 2.5 hours in your psychology test. It is naturally assumed that yes, this person has the ability to maintain focus, and if given the responsibilities, he or she will be able to handle it. So there's a prediction that happens based on observation which you give. So across your 5 days, after all the tests are completed, as I told you, they are not evaluating individual tests. Like I told you, EAT, they are not looking at what kind of story you write or how quickly you complete a story or what quality of inputs you have given. That is not the logic. Across 5 days, they are just neutrally observing you. Psychology test mein, what kind of responses you gave in what quality. In your interview, what kind of responses you gave. In your group tasks, what were the qualities you exhibited. And a judgment is made by a panel of officers by discussing fairly on what was observed in this candidate and then whether this person is fit to become an officer. So remember this, do not prepare for the tests, prepare yourself, prepare your own potential to become an officer, and naturally your performance in these tasks and what you exhibit to the board of officers will improve. Yeah, coming back to the psychology test, EAT, as I told you, a series of 12 pictures, the 12th picture being a blank slide, projected for 30 seconds each, and then you are given 4 minutes to write a story. Very simple rules on, there is a situation in the picture, right? It is not as hazy or unclear as your PPDT. It is fairly evident on what is happening in the picture, but it is also not extremely clear, as in it is not a colored photo, HD photo where you can clearly observe all the facial expressions and then dressing, background, etc. It is a slightly unclear picture only, where you are given a free will to assume the scenario, to assume who the character could be, to assume what the task is, and then how actions are taken by the main character to achieve some outcome. The basic theme is for you to choose a main character, to choose some theme on what is happening in this instance and what could be the likely outcome. And from the given situation to the likely outcome which is expected, what are the series of actions that take place? Let's say a simple example of a person running, the example that I took before. If let's say you choose a theme of he preparing for some running competition in college, what all would a young person do if he is preparing for a running event? you need to put those actions in good logical sequence. He will take care of his hydration, he'll take care of his basic nutrients, intake of food. He will take care of his timing. Maybe he is taking all guidance or coaching from a PT instructor or some running coach. Depending on the theme you choose, let's say he's preparing for an Olympic race, then the actions would be completely different and to another level. But let's say he's preparing for some local event from college, then the scenario would be different where his resources are also limited and what all he does with his level of preparation would be limited. So depending on what character you choose or what you want to put in your story, your actions will also differ. And it is no one rule or one size fits all formula for everyone because you all come from different backgrounds, you all have different experiences in life, and there is no, that is why the pictures are given like that and you are given a free hand. While doing this, you are putting your own ideas, you are putting your own imagination, you are putting your own personality while giving the responses. So those responses are analyzed and then a pattern is formed on what kind of person this candidate is. And then based on that, your scoring happens. So let's not get into that depth of assessment. Let us first understand what tests happen. So PAT ho gaya, uske baad you get WAT, which is word association test. So in this test, you are given a series of 60 words projected for 15 seconds each, and you are expected to write a sentence on each of the words. Maybe writing a sentence is the wrong way to depict it. You are supposed to associate that word with some action, some idea. In a logical way, you are supposed to just associate that word to a sentence. Let's say the word is general, or the word is table, or the word is free. What first thought or what first idea comes to your mind when you look at that word? You need to note that response. So overall logic is for you to be quick to think from different perspectives, and any word that is given to you, you need to be quickly able to come up with a logical sentence associating that word to some feeling, some emotion, some thought, some idea, or some action. Overall, after you complete these 60 words, when they are analyzed, there are patterns that emerge which give insights into your personality, your thinking, your outlook of the world. Let's say in some word, fear. If you write fear can be overcome by regular practice or not thinking too much about it, then there's some pattern that is emerging, right? Some input I am getting as a psychologist. If I assess your responses over 60 words, I'm getting inputs from you on your own personality. You are a person who believes that fear is something that can be overcome, or let's say fear is a myth. If you write, then you are giving some input about your thinking. You are a person who feels that fear is nothing. There's no fear in this world, which is a wrong statement, by the way. But overall, in these 60 words, your attempt will be to give your inputs to the psychologist for him to analyze. Simple, but it is fast paced. You do not get a second chance to think because it is only 15 seconds for you to observe the word, think of an idea, and also write a sentence. It is fairly fast paced, so and it is designed on purpose. You are not getting any second chance because if let's say ample amount of time is given, it is very easy for you to frame very good sounding or very hi-fi sentences which don't depict your natural personality. Your first instinct or your first thought is usually not coming out of your conscious brain. It is there in the back of your mind, and you do not think twice before acting upon or before giving out that response. So that is the intention of keeping these tests very fast paced. They have to be natural responses which you have in your mind. So overall, they are checking for how you think and how you are as a person. So that cannot be faked or that cannot be trained for. That needs to be built in over many years, as I told you. So that is word association test. That is your second test in the psychology series. And then the third test is situation reaction test, where you are given 60 real life situations and you are expected to write how the main character would respond or react to that situation. And these are regular common life scenarios. Let's say you are going to school and you see a person facing an accident on the road. What would the main character do? The questions would be similar to this. Or let's say two friends are quarreling and you are the person sitting there or standing there, what would you do? So in real life, if you were in that situation, what you would do, what actions you would take, simply describe that in 1 or 2 lines. That is all SRT is. And even here, they are getting inputs on what kind of a person you are. Let's say two people are quarreling. If people may have different routes, one may choose to ignore, one may choose to intervene, one may choose to take one person's side and scold or hit the other person. Responses would vary based on who you are. And there is no right or wrong in all these psychology tests. In your TAT, WAT, SRT, there are no right or wrong responses because each person is unique and you bring your strengths and weaknesses to the table when you write these responses. And overall, that has to be consistent in your interview and in your GTO as well. Let's say in your psychology test, it is evident that you are a person who is good in all other aspects, but not so good in your outdoor activities. Let's say you are not good in sports or you are not good in your qualities which are associated with your outdoor activities. Then that has to be consistent across your personal interview as well as your GTO tasks as well. So if a consensus is formed on what this person is in terms of his or her strengths and weaknesses, then a framework can be built on how they can improve or how they can better themselves in those set of qualities. But if let's say there is inconsistency in your own personality, in a personal interview you told that you are a great sports person, but in the GTO tasks you are not able to do simple obstacles. Or let's say in your psychology tests you write all heroic stories where a person achieves great in his academics, but your own academic scores are, let's say, 42, 43 percentage. So there needs to be consistency across these tests, and it has to be naturally what you are as a person. So if you improve in your real life, you score well in your academics, you participate in some games, you build yourself as an all-rounder, then your natural responses will be in sync with your real personality. So that should be your endeavor. And after this, your situation reaction test, your self-description test happens. It is not a test as such. It is just 5 paragraphs on what your parents think about you, what your teachers think about you, what your friends think about you, what do you think about yourself, and what kind of person do you want to become. That is, what weaknesses do you have, and what is the kind of person you want to become. Across these 5 paragraphs, you give a simple description on these people. What do your parents think about you will give inputs on whether you are a responsible son or daughter, whether you have fulfilled the basic expectations of your parents, whether you are disciplined at home. So across different perspectives, see, your personality varies depending on the context. At home, you are expected to be a obedient son, listening to your parents' advice and trying to fulfill their expectations of you as a child. When you are with friends, your personality is different. You are in your jovial element. You are playing, joking around, or doing anything which regular friends in college or school would do. So your personality has some different facets or perspectives to it, and the board is trying to get various inputs across different situations how you are. Let's say what do teachers expect from you? Basic expectations are for you to be good in your academics, for you to improve yourself if you have any weaknesses in your personality, to become the best version of yourself, mostly in academic and extracurricular and sports, whatever opportunities the college or school gives you. Your teachers want you to be good at those areas and try to improve yourself, improve your career prospects. So if you are fulfilling those well, and your friends have a different expectation from you, they want you to be helpful to them, emotionally available to them, maybe bunk 1 or 2 classes and go for an outing with them. So you are a different person or the same person acting in a different way in that context. So across this self-description test, the board of assessors are asking for inputs from different people so that they get inputs on various sides of your personality. So overall, across psychology tests, I told you TAT is that story writing, WAT is 15 seconds ka word projected and you write responses. SRT, your different real life situations given and you writing your reactions. And then SD, the self-description test, where you are writing these 5 paragraphs on your personality. Across these 4 tests, you are giving a lot of input to the psychologist on what kind of person you are. That is all. How you think and how you respond to situations, and what skills, what strengths and weaknesses you have is overall evident after the psychology tests are evaluated. Another important thing which I forgot to mention is your PIQ, that is your personal information questionnaire. So it's a two-page document where everything is asked about who you are as a person. What was your school? When to when did your schooling happen? What were your percentages? School, college, graduation, post-graduation. So across these areas, what were your colleges? Where did you study? How much did you score? And were there any outstanding achievements or any extracurriculars which you participated in? That is one section. Another section is about your personal life. Where do you belong from? Who are your parents? What do they do? Who are your siblings? What do they do? How much income do they earn? Are your parents alive or together? So these are basic questions which give an idea about your background. And your psychology test, your interview, your group test happen only after your PIQ is read. So the person reading your psychology test already knows what background you come from, what means you had, what resources you had across your childhood, across your upbringing. So the expectation is also similar. In your psychology test, a person coming from a rural background without English medium education, without any proper focus or training given, would have a certain level of responses in his psychology test, whereas a person who was privileged, coming from a fairly educated family background, having read in a very high-fi English medium school in Pune, and then going on to do graduation in one of the best engineering colleges in the country, the responses expected from him are different. So, to what background you come from, you should have done justice. The expected levels are also different based on your personal information questionnaire. That is why your PIQ is asked for the assessors to know what background you come from, and based on that, your judgment also happens in your test. So yeah, I told about academics and background, but there are many other questions also that come in the PIQ about your hobbies, interests, about any previous attempts you have given for SSB, about your participation in sports and games and extracurricular activities. So across, it is basically like your resume. If in simple words, if I have to put, it is overall your resume of your life from childhood to now. What all have you done, and whether this profile is suitable to become an officer, a fair judgment happens there also. So I've covered psychology tests. I hope it's not boring. Should I pass it up or should I change the topic? Boring, like that? No, because I feel this is boring because this is all tests and how you need to prepare for them. We can have some other interesting conversation also. I'll quickly cover what happens in the next 5-10 minutes and then we'll go on to some interesting talks. Psychology test I covered. Personal interview is basically you sitting with a senior serving officer and he or she asking you questions about your own life. Again, SSB is, I mean, they call it the world's toughest interview, India's toughest interview. Nonsense, because in no other interview they are asking only about yourself. Throughout the SSB interview, they are only checking who you are as a person, and I think that is the easiest to clear because they are not expecting any outside knowledge. You do not need to know about the armed forces. You do not need to know even your core subjects to that level of depth. Let's say you have done BCom. In your interviews which you sit for in college placements, they expect you to know what GDP is, how you write a balance sheet, how you do all these things which pertain to your core subject. But in SSB, they're not expecting any of it. You come from any background, you come from whatever academic and extracurricular background. They are only looking at whether you as a person know your own strengths and weaknesses and whether you can answer that itself in the interview. So the interviewing officer already has your PIQ, the form that you filled, your resume or your life history that I told about. So based on that, he will form a few questions to know about your background in a little more detail. Let's say you have only filled your school name, how many marks you scored, and what extracurriculars you participated in. Now he wants to listen from you in a little more detail. You tell me about your school experiences, or tell me about some instance where you felt you were failing, but then later on you went on to achieve something. So in your life, what all have you done, and how has all that experience or all those years of upbringing built you as a person? That is what he is curious about. And overall, in those 45 minutes to 1 hour, he'll try to assess all your strengths and weaknesses and make a note of it. That is all. If you have all basics in place, if you can answer frankly, and if you can maintain your calm, and throughout the interview, there are some different techniques they use to try to put stress on you or try to get out the truth from you. Because some people try to impress the assessors by putting, false responses or exaggerating your PIQ. Let's say you do not have any hobby of trekking or of reading. If you have mentioned reading as your hobby, then he will be curious to know what books have you read in recent times, what have you learned from them, etc. So unless you have filled everything honestly and you can justify them, it will be difficult for you to clear this interview. But very basic thing is for you to be aware of yourself and be spontaneous when the interview happens. And in your GTO tasks, that is your tests which happen in a group environment, there are a set of indoor and outdoor tasks. There is a group discussion. There is a task called group planning exercise where a real life scenario is given to you, and there are a set of 4 to 5 serious problems. I'll give a simple example of GPE. I hope this is not taking too much time because I don't want to bore you with all this stuff. All this is available on the internet if you go through what SSB is and how these 5 days happen. These are available. But I am trying to crunch it down and tell you the core activity or the core qualities they are checking for so that you try to have a awareness of what they are looking for and you build those qualities in you. That is what preparation is. And 90%, 95% of people who I have seen or who I have mentored come with the wrong thinking in mind saying, ye test ke liye if I prepare, let's say I am telling there's a group discussion. So you can't prepare specifically for a group discussion unless you are having those etiquettes in place. If let's say a topic is given to you to discuss on what is most crucial for India's growth, is it the political leadership, is it the youth, or is it the policy makers? So unless you have general awareness, unless you have read about these things, unless you have discussed them with those with your friends, or basic reading, unless you have done, you cannot perform in a GT. So there's no specific preparation for group discussion. If you have general awareness, if you know how to talk in public, if you know how to behave when other people are talking, your group discussion will naturally go well. So instead of preparing for individual tasks and then trying to show a performance there, build your qualities across your daily routine. Simple things for you to prepare for SSB. Let me not go into all the details of group tests. There are various tests which happen indoors and outdoors in your 2 days of GTO tasks. But overall, they are checking for that only. Your potential, all your qualities which relate to you becoming a good officer. For that, ideally in your age, the daily routine should be you spending some time with your core subjects. That is whatever you are studying. If you are in BCom, BA, BSc, BTech, you spending some time on understanding your subjects by focusing in class, by studying for your exams, by scoring at least uh, expected levels of marks in your exams. That is the most important thing because you are a student and that is your core responsibility of doing well as a student. That is the main core of your daily routine. Another would be for you to participate in activities which pertain to your interest, your hobbies, or your clubs in college, or anything which you feel is adding to your personality, adding to your understanding of life. Try to do those. Focus on your physical fitness. That is important in your GTO task, especially if you want to join the armed forces. And physical fitness does not only mean training your body because it has effects on multiple things. It boosts your confidence, it gives you a different perspective of yourself. And through physical fitness, there are a lot of psychological and inner benefits which you may not realize while going through the process, but it will be evident after a certain time. Let's say you are starting your physical fitness journey today, your confidence, your ability to take decisions in quick time, all these would be at a certain level. And then once you go through, let's say 6 months, 1 year of daily physical training or consistent activity, and physical training need not be running or sports, PT or anything. It can be any of these. It can be whatever, depending on your interest. It can be swimming, it can be horse riding, it can be golf, it can be any activity which puts your mind and body in action across, let's say, half an hour or 1 hour per day. If you do that consistently, then you will see effects on your personality, on your other areas of life. So having some sort of physical activity, following what core hobby or interest you have, following your basic responsibilities as a student, having fun, a very important thing which people ignore. Like even right now, I see very serious faces which the SSB usually does not look for jovial people who have very casual attitude towards life. They are found to be good officers because you can't be a leader by being a very serious, very strict person. You have to be friendly with your troops. You have to be, smiling at your own mistakes. That is when you improve, and that is when you have the ability to be an officer. So that and multiple other things, very small aspects. But if you have a consistent daily routine across your student life, you will build yourself for SSB. That is the crux of it. And I don't want to bore you with all the tasks that happen and how they are evaluating, what they are looking for. All that is easily available online. And for me to specifically give inputs to each of you, it would be foolish of me because I can't tell how this person can prepare unless I know his own strengths and weaknesses, his life. So I do assessments on an individual basis. I talk to people, I try to understand where they are lacking and try to give them personal advice on where they can improve so that they can build themselves and then later on go on to clear SSB. So if I can talk to some people one on one, that would be beneficial. If anyone wants to ask questions one on one, please do because that is when the discussion gets interesting. I don't want to keep giving generic yarn because all this is available and most of you will get to know in the next few days. If you go through the links, I'll be sharing some material. If you create a group or if you just text me, I'll share it to one of you and then you can circulate it amongst yourselves. If you go through those material, you will understand all that I'm trying to say. And then I want you to start the preparation journey. That is the intention here. I'm not here to share stuff which is already available on the internet. I want you to get some behavioral change in you. If you take action, if you start preparing from today, then the purpose of this session is served. All knowledge, all gyan is based unless it is acted upon. So दुनिया भर का ज्ञान तुम रख सकते हो, but if you are not utilizing it, if you are not putting it into action, then it's of no use. So yeah, I don't want to continue sharing all the insights because थोड़ा मुझे भी boring लग रहा है, and I don't think it'll add a lot of value also. Let's take questions. Ask me what all you have in mind. Do you want to know more about written exams? Do you want to know more about the SSB interview per se? Or do you want me to share some stories on what happens in IMA so that you'll be motivated or something? Actually, there's no thing as motivation. It is just dream, it is fantasy. Unless you are acting upon it, there's no such thing as motivation. वो बहुत momentary thing है. Today you may feel pumped up and tomorrow you would have forgotten. So consistency and discipline पे focus करो. Motivation is nothing. That is just one spark of. If someone comes, gives some talk, you may feel all pumped up. That is just वो movie देखने से भी हो जाएगा, कुछ book पढ़ने से भी हो जाएगा. That is not the point. Unless you eat that on a daily basis, it won't help you. Yeah, I want to take questions from you. Answer person by person. Yeah, please.
Can you share any anomaly of situation that you faced during completion of the interview?
You mean any tough situation where we had to?
Not prepared or it came, it's just an anomaly. Like you are not preparing for it.
Many such situations. See, military life is like that. Nothing can be predicted, and these are areas where you are putting your own life on the line and you are taking significant risk because the area which is at stake is national security, sovereignty of the country. So nothing comes beyond that. Once that is compromised, all other areas of life are compromised. So we come as the last resort, the armed forces. So by nature of the job, by nature of the life you have chosen, it is prudent that you will have instances where there is conflict, there is, like you asked, situations which come out of nowhere, you were not expecting them. One such in my own life happened during a training exercise. This was post Indian Military Academy. Training ho gaya, I was commissioned as a lieutenant. There was this training exercise where we lost one of our men. He was a serving soldier in our unit. We went to this op location. I can't reveal full details on what was happening, where was this and all, but it was a regular training exercise in one of the forward locations. Although we prepare for everything, we know trenches kitna depth honi chahiye, and you are in NCC, right? So if you have done any camps, you would know snake trench का कितना depth होनी चाहिए, कितना width होनी चाहिए, how the trench should be laid. All those things you do expecting कि सब सही होगा, but after 2 or 3 days of this training exercise in that camp, we found one person not attending the morning roll call, and once proper check was happened, he was found to be sleeping in his tent and unconscious. So no one knew what happened, and we rushed into the hospital, and he was found dead. He was found dead, and post the postmortem happened, we got to know that he died out of snake bite. So we till date are not able to wrap our heads around the fact that there was a poisonous snake in that terrain which could enter his tent. His as in it was a group tent where multiple people were taking rest at night. Had entered somehow, slid into the tent. Although there were trenches around the tent where possibly a snake of normal size could not have entered. And till now, we are not able to digest the fact that it was an avoidable death. Had we lost him to some enemy bullets, it would have still been acceptable. But this, and I, being the young officer in the unit, had to do some responsibilities, some formalities after his death. And I was what 23 when this incident happened, and you taking on responsibility of a person's life. Now I have to live with this fact that his death could have been avoided. Maybe because we as a team failed, or maybe I did not do checks multiple times, or in spite of following everything that has been given in the book and across exercises, what protocols we follow, in spite of doing everything, this happened. So you can never accept this one thing which has already happened. You have to live with it. So that is one situation which was, as you asked, very unpredictable, and we never saw it coming. It happened, and then later we tried to put in extra protocols on extending the width of the snake trenches, making sure one person is guarding at nights even while the other people are resting, etc., etc. But those happened after the incident occurred. So we can never bring back this person, and his orphan kids will remain, so yeah, so such incidents do happen when you are in that profession, but you learn to live with it, you learn to evolve. Because I saw that when I was just 23 and I could live with it, I could take on those responsibilities. Now coming back to civil life, I don't see any problem in doing activities which usually people find stressful. Let's say there's a presentation tomorrow morning, some global CEO is coming and I have to give a huge presentation on the entire company or an organization. It won't feel stressful to me because uh, after a certain point in your training, you realize इससे ज़्यादा कुछ होगा ही नहीं life में. This is the peak of your torture, your suffering, your uh, whatever responsibility you take. After you go through that intensity, regular civil life will feel like a cakewalk. You come, you do, and there's no bullet flying around. There's no person putting his life on the on the line. So anything which you do later feels very natural, very easy to you because you know the value of what happened there. So there's this very beautiful statement. Once you see death, once you see it happening, remaining of your life becomes easy. So that you get to experience only when you are in such professions, which is worth it because usually people don't die. And let me demystify this one thing to all the people here and maybe your parents who have this stereotype. Movies देखते हैं कि army navy air force are only there to fight war और होती है कभी कभार and that also is not that risky. And given the training we have and given the potential of the Indian Armed Forces, it is always risky to the enemy, not to us. So it's not life risky. This one-off incident could have happened in civil also. People die in trekking, people die in camps, adventure activities. So yeah, there's no risk to life, but the kind of experiences you have there, you can never experience them in regular civil life. So it is worth it. I would recommend all of you to give it a try. Even if you don't get recommended or if you don't join the forces as officers, it is a very, very enriching experience for you to go through this journey of preparation. Because see, SSB में क्या देखता है? I told you the officer-like qualities they check, and these qualities are relevant in any profession. Even if you become, let's say if you are in BCom, you become a CA or you become an accountant, your confidence, your ability to lead a person, your ability to say no when something wrong is happening, everything which an officer is supposed to do, if you inculcate those qualities in you, it will help you in any other profession also. You will be a far better manager, a far better leader, far better professional in your own area of life, even if you don't get recommended. That is why I am stressing on the process of preparation and not on the interview itself. The tests that happen, how do you excel in it, and all can be taken care of when you are about to give the interview. Maybe when 1 2 months are remaining, we can take an assessment and then tell you exactly these are the areas you can do better in. But these few years of transformation that you go through is very valuable, and this is the only time you get to go through such a journey. Later on, once you take responsibilities as a working professional, as a husband, as a father, etc., you won't have that bandwidth to improve yourself or to focus on finer aspects because life will get busy and you will have multiple things to take care of. So utilize this time well so that the remaining part of life becomes easier. So I mean I digress from the core question, but I hope I've answered yours. There was one such situation, multiple other such during training after commissioning. Yeah, these experiences form you. These experiences shape you into a better professional, mature person. Yeah, someone else. Yeah. Funniest experience in IMA, there are multiple punishments and first term में multiple funny incidents. Uh, it may be a little too funny to share here. कुछ adult jokes involved है उसमें, so I don't want to share that. But I'll tell you another funny incident. IMA में the first day we entered, uh, I come from a completely civilian background. No one in our relatives, in our family, or even friend circle were in the armed forces. I was the only person who was foolish enough to opt for torture at IMA. So, 5 attempts I took, somehow cleared, entered Indian Military Academy. This was 8th of October 2020. I remember it as if it was yesterday. The first instance, and across 1.5 years, I had prepared for this interview and cleared it, and finally I was there in my dream place, right? So, has anyone of you seen IMA, Indian Military Academy, in movies? In Lakshya movie, to dekha hoga. So this red and grey building, the Chetwood building. So once you enter IMA, the first block that you see is that picture, and I can still remember this very vividly because it was one life-defining moment. So I can never forget it. In its full glory, our bus entered and we were seeing it in person live, and we were there to train there for the next 1.5 years. So we were all pumped up with full pride. Finally, we have arrived. Now we are just a few months away from becoming officers. So वो जोश के साथ we entered our respective companies. So in IMA there are 4 different battalions, and in each battalion there are 4 companies. NCC folks would understand these terms, but otherwise just assume कि there are 4 houses: blue house, red house, green house, yellow house. ऐसे 4 अलग battalions है, and in each battalion there are 4 companies. So I was given Karyappa Battalion, Kohima Company, and these companies are named after, the battalions are named after accomplished senior generals, individuals. Field Marshal K.M. Karyappa, if you have heard, was the first Commander-in-Chief of the Indian Army, first Indian Commander-in-Chief. So we were given that battalion and company, and I entered during COVID times. So this was October 2020, if you remember, COVID first wave, first peak had happened. So our joining was also supposed to be in July, but due to lockdown protocols, our joining got a little delayed, and we were called in October. The first day I entered, and I told you the first instance was this pride when I passed through Chetwood building, and then we entered our respective battalion areas. 6 of us went to Kohima Company, and all of us fairly new. 2 of them were from army background; their parents were serving, and the remaining of us were complete civilians. One at least had NCC background. I had nothing. I didn't do NCC. I didn't have any motivation for the armed forces before these 1.5 2 years of preparation. So with all my amateur and childish josh, I entered. And initially, before entering the company, our seniors came out and ragged us a little bit, asked some funny questions, and then told us to do simple 20 push-ups. So push-ups, if you know, are very easy by the look of it, but थोड़ा अगर technique के साथ नहीं करोगे तो it is, uh, I mean, I till then assumed that I'm a fairly strong person. I can do 20-25 push-ups in one go was my assumption. But a regular plank type military push-up, if you do, it requires significant strength. At that point, I was not this strong. I was thinking that I was strong, and I did 20 push-ups. None of them were counted. I was doing a fairly wide arm and half push-up where only my head was going down and my back and the remaining body was still above. So the senior started making fun of me, saying, "What is this? Are you a duck or you a crocodile or something? What is this? What kind of push-ups are you doing?" And all. And that taunting and all happened, and we entered the portals, the company area where you have all the accomplished individuals. And Goima company has been in IMA since what, at least 8-9 decades. So officers who have passed out of that academy have gone on to become generals, have gone on to become Paramveer Chakrawardis, Ashok Chakrawardis, etc. So you see their rooms, their cabins during their training where they were, and it is called the company anti-room. That is where you go for recreation when there is no training. You have a gathering in that area. And वहाँ पे all these pictures and accomplishments on how this company was raised and who all have trained here, what all they have gone on to accomplish in their service and later. So you feel motivated, you are assuming you have become part of this legacy now, but you later realize that unless you put the required efforts, you are not welcomed into that family. So then your seniors will come, they'll motivate you on how the next 1.5 years will be. They will pump you up a little because they know from the next day how your life will turn into, a miserable uh, 1.5 years. So at least for the first day, they are a little friendly with you. They tell you, okay, something tough is coming, so be prepared, be ready. करके they'll motivate you a little. During this time, the six of us I told you who entered Goima company, one person was behaving very arrogant, very unruly with the seniors. He was asking them if there is AC available in the rooms, and he was asking if uniforms are mandatory or he can come in jeans and t-shirt for training. He was doing these stuff out of purpose or out of foolishness. We didn't know at that point, but he was continuously pissing off seniors by asking these questions and basic sadhan Vishram Nair Parada. He was purposefully, giving vague answers and everything possible for us to, get screwed in the next 5 minutes itself. We thought first day chill rahega, second day say training will start, but this one dash 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 didn't let that happen, and the seniors immediately were angry and they told us to do all these things, push-ups, toe touches, knee touches, etc. Physical stuff, rolling, ये वो. उस time पे तो we were not even fit. I never trained myself for military training, right? No NCC, no ऐसे hard physical fitness background I didn't have. I used to play basic games, cricket, football, badminton, etc. in college, but otherwise I was not up to this level कि ये सब first day जाके कर लो. But yeah, somehow we managed with our bad posture, bad form, but we were doing it. And this guy was not stopping. He was continuously giving out, speaking, how can you make us do all this? We are here as officers. Give us some better things to do. Why should we do all your funny stuff? Why should we follow orders, etc.? And they were getting more and more pissed off. And after a point, it came to that level कि they 4 or 5 of our seniors came, pulled this guy, took him to a cabin. So company area is basically our hostel, if I have to put in civilian terms. So they took him into one of their cabins, and then 3-4 of other seniors came with their hockey sticks, cricket bats, and all, and they barged into that room and they locked the room from inside. And the 5 of us remaining juniors were standing outside with all terrified faces. कि क्या होने वाला है? And we hear these thop 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 बड़े sounds where they were hitting him like anything with their hockey sticks, bats, haath pair. With the sounds we were getting, it was very evident that he'll come out with some fractured bones and bruised face. And then after 2-3 minutes, they all came out, and around 30 seconds, 1 minute later, this guy walks out with full limping and crying and screaming and gripping all whatnot. Then he walks out, and then the seniors ask us again, do you want this kind of treatment, the remaining 5 of you, or will you at least behave yourselves? And then this guy was like, I'm really sorry, sir, this happened and all. But even during that, he was complaining, ki, I won't leave you guys, I'll complain to the battalion commander next day. I'll make sure you get punished. I said, manhandling is not allowed. What do you think of yourselves? Just because you are seniors, you can do anything, you know. We were also here, अभी इतना हो गया तो you can compromise, you can, and even we were surprised because manhandling is really not allowed in academy. No one can beat each other. You can punish, you can give all tasks, you can make life miserable for your juniors, but physical hitting and this, as much as we were aware, was not allowed. We were also a little surprised, but we were still, surprised that this happened, and we were in double minds whether we should question this, whether we should also revolt, and where क्या पता हमारे साथ भी यही हो. So we were all standing there, surprised and all. And then this guy who was barely injured because of all the hitting he got could not stand properly. He was in his funny position. And the seniors ordered at least you are in academy now when seniors are talking how to stand in Southern. And then he could not stand straight because of all the pain he was having. So they told us to make him stand in Southern or all of you will get the same treatment. What is this? Do you think this is some picnic going on and all? So over, we were trying to teach him how to stand straight, how to tolerate pain for some time, and just get this done with. And we were motivating him कि ये खत्म हो जाएगा. Later, these people will only train you and become, best friends, best seniors. But you will have to earn it. You will have to prove that you have the potential to become a good officer, and then they will accept you as their, dear junior and all. So we were trying to motivate him by saying, I was showing him कि ये सावधान होता है. With my very bad posture, I was teaching him कि this is how you are supposed to do things, and slowly he was trying to replicate what I was showing. All this happened for some time, and then more seniors walked in, and they started. They came with their notepads, pens, and all, and they made loud noises. So drum beats की तरह they wanted to replicate, and they came with a full screaming and shouting. And then I turned back, and this guy, this injured guy, this bad course mate of ours who was taking panga with all seniors, he came out walking normally without any injury. Must he came out and he joined the other people. And then I realized all this was a prank, and this guy was actually a senior, a third termer, who was far, far more accomplished than I can imagine. He was the CQSM of our company. NCC folks can understand. And then all of them started imitating me. This junior dash 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 is teaching us how to stand in Savdan, and he has the audacity to give instructions to a senior and all. So overall, this was a prank planned by them for us to have first day memorable. So this I cannot forget till I die because it was planned by seniors and it was made in such a way that it felt very realistic while it was happening. And it lasted for close to 2.5 hours, the entire series of prank. And then they welcomed us into the academy. This guy, the senior who was acting as if he was a junior, became later a really good friend. So throughout those few months of training left, he was taunting me again and again. This is the guy who was teaching me how to stand in Southern, and look at him, what he has learned, what he has done. So yeah, that's how the first day in academy happened. It was a funny incident, but during that time it was not funny. We were terrified. We were very, very anxious on what is coming. But later, training takes its course and you learn to live with it. First term is really difficult because you are coming straight from civilian background and you are not used to that level of physical and mental rigor. You slowly get used to it on a incremental basis. They up the torture levels. So first it is bearable and then slowly it becomes after a point you become good, so the training becomes easy for you. It is not that the training standards are reduced, but you have improved, so it becomes bearable. Funny incidents all we have, but this was one such incident I could recall. Yeah, such pranks we played later on our juniors and juniors who came in after that. Yeah.
Sir, when the journey is a little big, I mean,
When the journey is?
a little bigger, I mean, if you are preparing for long-term goals, for example, in my first attempt for serious in 2027. So sometimes in these situations, you feel like maybe you are not doing enough, maybe you are not doing enough, even though if I give everything of me, and I implement all of these things every day, like I really sports, public speaking and all, but sometimes you might feel that maybe you are not doing good. So however,
See, if you are doing the bare minimum, if you are doing all these things which you mentioned, sports, public speaking, studies on a daily basis, you are already doing far better than I told you 90-95% of people around you. So you have a simple comparison of what your friends are doing, what your other aspirant friends are doing. And if you feel you are putting in more efforts than them and you are improving to a level where you are a little better than your crowd, you are already doing far better. And let's not have this inferiority complex on maybe I'm not doing enough, maybe I'm not good enough. You never know until the right situation comes. And do not expect any results also during this process. The process itself is the reward. So if you are doing something for your own improvement, you enjoy the process of it. Like let's say you hate studies and still you are studying because it gives you certain outcome. So in some instances where you are not enjoying what you are doing, then the final outcome is your incentive. कि हाँ ये मिलने वाला है तो इसीलिए करूँगा. None of us enjoy physical training. To be honest, if someone says that they enjoy running, they enjoy PT, then either they are very unique, special individuals, or they are lying. So why do you do it in spite of going through some resistance, some inhibition inside you? Because the end goal is worth it. Because you know you will improve in your confidence, in your physique, in your ability to do sport. And in military, you know that if you complete this training, you will become an officer, and then you will get all the benefits and privileges associated with it. So either have the end goal so worth it that this process feels rewarding, or you choose things which you genuinely enjoy doing. Let's say you play sport for the enjoyment of playing it, then that is adding to your improvement while you are enjoying the process. So there are only two types of things: things which you enjoy and which you don't. So if you are enjoying it, then you are doing it for extended time and it is adding to your personality. And if you are not, then you are keeping something towards the end. And because it is so attractive, so uh, motivational for you to achieve, this process will feel good. हाँ, at least end में ये मिलेगा if you do this. So in your case, if you feel you are not doing enough, if you are enjoying the process and if you are doing something relevant to what end goal you have, you are doing justice. And there is no metric to measure whether you are doing good enough or insufficient. You are enjoying it, and if you are doing good for yourself, you are the best judge for it. I cannot tell you whether you are doing good enough. If you are satisfied at the end of the day when you are going to sleep, if you feel I have done something worth it today, that is all. That is all anyone can do.
what I noticed that sometimes the performance may vary. Like sometimes I may be good at public speaking, but sometimes I don't perform. The consistency is not that good. So that may be a demotivating factor. If you
Not
are
required. See, a person cannot be good in whatever his sports strength is at all points. Let's say you are a great sports person, you will never win all your matches. There will always be a match you will perform bad, you will lose. Same with any activity. You let's say public speaking. There may be a few instances where you do not speak well, or you falter in between, or the audience laughs at you. It is bound to happen, even to the best of speakers, to the best of sportsmen, to the best of academicians. Some level of bad performance, some dip, some embarrassment is bound to happen. By nature of all these activities, it is like that. So we can't beat the rule of nature. So it is always happening. So accept that there will be some bad days. But overall, if you look at last 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, overall, have you improved or not? That's the only question. And if you have, then you have done well.
commented,
Okay, you came after I replied to that comment. Thank you, thanks for coming. Yeah, I'm very active on Instagram, WhatsApp, and YouTube. So if you can get in touch with me there, I'll always be happy to help you, reply to you there as well. But for the limited time I'm here, you can interact with me and ask me questions.
Why you are
Please sit down.
why you are showing different as you are from the same background and my second question was what's your duty
Why did I choose this? Okay.
and what's your experience on Facebook? about what? The Kashmir, the experience of your Kashmir in that side.
Okay, no, I have not been in Kashmir. I served in Meerut and Dehradun was the training. Okay, I'll tell you experience. Why did I choose defense? Because the lifestyle was very attractive to me. Like most of you, I was also really confused. From my childhood, I had given, like, if anyone asked me what you want to become, I was giving different answers at different points. And in some stage of my life, I wanted to be a scientist and then a cricket player and then an astronaut. All unrealistic goals, but dreams, fantasies. So somehow during graduation, I started to seriously figure out what kya kar sakte hain. A few options looked very attractive. One was pilot. I don't know, most children, at least in my age, used to dream to become a commercial pilot. So the lifestyle is attractive. Uh, a few other realistic options were because commercial flying is very costly. You need at least 80, 90 lakhs to train yourself as a pilot, which I could not afford. And then the other options were either going abroad for my masters and then continuing with my science research, maybe do a PhD, pursue academia, or give competitive exams and try to get into government services, UPSC, CGL, etc. And while exploring these, while talking to people, I somehow came across armed forces as a career. This was in my second year of graduation. So by that time, I had already lapsed my age for 10 plus 2 entries like NDA, TES, the entries I told about. I had already crossed that age. So the next option was for me to give CDS, AFCAT, these exams after graduation or in my final year. So I just came across it as a career, and in my college we had NCC, but I had not applied for it. So first year I had already completed without NCC because I never wanted to be in armed forces. It was not a career choice for me. I was just having respect, having that awe for the forces, yeah, uniform, guns, adventure, etc. But I never considered myself in that place. But then when I started to see the perks of being in forces and what kind of a lifestyle you'll enjoy, and another very personal thing that happened with me is across these years I was always more into academics. I was a ready kid. I had scored really well in my 10th, 12th, engineering entrances, etc. So most of my life I was into academics, into boring stuff, padai, exams, etc. And I always wanted to explore other areas. I was good in sports. I was a naughty kid as well. In college, I used to get complaints. My mom used to be called uh, every month, every 2 months, एक बार principal dean से complaints आती थी. So I was fed up with all the studies I had done in my life. कि बहुत हो गया अभी we should do something which is more uh, internal core interest के साथ जो align होती है. So उसमें armed forces looked really good because you are serving the nation, you are in uniform, you are facing action, adventure, an opportunity to travel across the country because every 2 years, 2.5 years, your posting changes, an opportunity to interact with different people, have varied experiences. See, ultimately, what is life? A combination of all your experiences. So, if you are choosing some profession which will give you a holistic experience in itself, then what better than that? So, once I started research, everything on YouTube, Google, type करके, I started watching a lot of movies also then related to Air Force Army. I never started with the Army. I wanted to become a fighter pilot. Later on, after selection, I realized I have some eyesight because all these years I told you, na, studies and watching screen and I don't know, or naturally eyesight developed, I don't know, but mild eyesight had developed and I was not eligible to become a pilot. So later, yeah, chose to become an army officer, but lifestyle choice because that is the kind of life I wanted to lead. Something outdoorish, something adventurous, and something which will give me an all-round development and understanding of myself and life. So yeah, that is how I chose this as a profession. And it was a little too late also because had I chosen it in my 12th, I would have gone to NDA. Maybe a few years of confusion would have been reduced. But maybe that phase was written for me. I was really confused in my first year, second year. I never had clarity on what I want to become. But yeah, I chose this, and once I had this in mind, then the actual preparation journey started. And that also took significant time, close to 1.5 years. I told you, right? Multiple SSB attempts, written exams, and then had to join the academy and later got commissioned. Your second question was experiences in Kashmir, etc. Right? I have not been in Kashmir, but overall experiences in field areas in exercises are unique. You can't expect that in regular civilian life because you are out there in the wild, setting your own camps, cooking your own food, living a very raw, rustic life close to nature, and you will be in locations which seem very unreal, seem filmy because these are locations which are untouched by humanity, especially civilians, because wherever humans go, we have this habit of polluting the place, damaging the place, and coming back. But if you serve in the forces or if you choose some profession like outdoor trekking or something, which are very, very rare to get into, you will live in such areas which are very pristine, very raw in its भगवान ने जैसा बनाया वैसे ही है इंसान ने टच नहीं किया उसको इसीलिए that beauty has been retained. So yeah, you get to experience those locations and you train there, you live there for significant amount of time. And yeah, there is always this pride of you being in uniform, doing justice to the profession you chose, and you also get to do it in such beautiful locations. So camps, ka, yeah, there are some bad things also that happen there. You are, if NCC camps, if you have gone, then वहाँ पे extra ragda and all those things also happen. But after a point, you learn to enjoy it. You are doing it along with your people, along with your brothers and sisters. So you don't find it difficult after a point because you are physically strong. इतना training कर लिया, then you are used to it. And after you become an officer, though, then there's no one to give you ragda. You are the most senior person, at least with most of your troops. There are what, 3, 4 seniors with you, senior officers, captains, majors, colonels. Otherwise, all others are following your command. So it is a privilege to be in such a position and also a big responsibility. I told you there are some instances which uh, are a little hard to handle. So yeah, you get to experience both sides of it. When you play at that level, you are having all the privileges, but you're also having responsibilities to that level. Yeah, it's a double-sided coin.
You have said any
Action.
enemies like Pakistan, like
No, I was not in any combat arm, right? I was not in infantry or special forces. I was in the Corps of Signals. We are a technical arm. We take care of communication. We take care of cyber security, electronic warfare. So it is mostly technical indoors. You do outdoor stuff for you to learn, for you to understand various things that happen on ground. But most of your work is technical. You work on systems. You learn how various communication networks work, and your work is core work is that all these camps and all happen at times for you to have exposure to other wings of the army as well. So yeah, I have never faced as a enemy action firing or movie जैसा फौजी life नहीं मिला, but yeah, most of my friends have experienced it. People who chose combat armed special forces. Recently, one of my course mates from the Kirti Chakra also. He is in special forces. So yeah, you experience those things and you choose your experiences. After a point, you don't get to because जहाँ पे requirement है, the army will send you and you are expected to be there. But otherwise, most of your life you choose your experiences. Yeah, as a, I never got to experience such as a direct enemy firing or action. But yeah, we have done stuff which has helped the army later on. So, yeah.
How about the significant role in secure, like, of
Very crucial because it was all electronic warfare. It was air defense and electronic warfare. Most of the choosing of spots, where to hit, everything is done by the surveillance wing, which is Corps of Signals and some portion of AAD and Air Force. So, yeah, the most crucial part was played by the technical wing only, the EME, the engineers, the not even the engineers, EME signals, and of course the air defense units. I can't get into some details, but overall, yes, they played a crucial role. And all the forward force were also activated. The infantry folks were ready to assault, and also that was another joyful time. You don't get to experience combat or experience action most of your life. You are training for it, training for it, training for it, waiting for some day for it to occur. But when the time came, when Ops Indoor was launched, it was finally the time for you to put all your training into action. Yeah, it was a great time for people serving then. I was already out of the forces by then. Yeah, but I was part of all these WhatsApp groups, all the internal communications we have. So I was enjoying all the live updates, and after some things occur in the group, 2, 3 hours later, it used to come on news that this happened. So I was in my summer internship during this time. I was in Godrej Consumer Products in Mumbai, and neglecting work, all 3 days I was watching live updates and talking to my course mates कि क्या चल रहा है, कहाँ पे क्या deployment हुआ, all that. But yeah, 3 days of full action and full pride because you are seeing what work you trained for being used in action. Yeah, it was a great experience. But I had this small regret that I should also have been in that place in this time. But yeah, destiny had chosen different plans for me. But I'm still proud of the service I put in. Yeah,
So another question like, do we have to know about our courses like how mechanics differently work, how
for SSB interview specifically, not required. Basics of what infantry is, what signals is, what mechan is, what different arms do, to understand basic functioning of the army, because you want to become an officer yourself. A simple understanding of what different arms do, who are our war heroes, who are the PVC winners, what all have they done, and what are the major operations which our forces have taken part in from the time we have got independence. Basic awareness will help. Not mandatory to know, but it it shows your level of motivation to join the forces. Unless you are actually interested in it, you wouldn't have researched about it, read about it, right? So to the interviewing officer, to the panel of assessors, it shows that you are genuinely interested and motivated to serve, because of which you have done all this homework. Yeah.
training that you can search for knowing the basics of para process because it is derived from colonial army. That
You wanted me to suggest a book?
yeah, for knowing that from where it originated, who did it all.
So history of it and all you can search online and read. Every SF unit has its origin and how they were raised, how they were formed, how they evolved over time, and what do they specialize in. All that is available online. You can just Google it and learn. Or specifically, if you want to read about some operations we have conducted, some legendary people who have served in SF, then there's this book called Balidan. That's one book, and PVC maybe there are a few anecdotes of SF soldiers, but I'm also not able to recall. Balidan is one book I can recall. Major Abhay Sapru has come up with his own book. He was part of this Sri Lanka mission and he wrote 2 or 3 books on his real life experiences in operations. So those are good. For history of SF, how they were raised, how they were formed and all, there is no book to read. You can go online and search about them. But interesting operations के बारे में और how things happen, how lifestyle is in that. And book reading is a little boring. At least I don't read. I usually watch videos, documentaries. So there are a lot of documentaries on SF on YouTube, Discovery Channel, many people. And these days, so many podcasts are also coming on special courses. So watching those, understanding those would be sufficient. For books, Palitan is one I can recall. There are multiple other books, I'm sure, but I cannot recall at this point.
Like I've seen on YouTube and all on documentary about SS heroes. That is that David Sterling is the company. I like that. So how to know that from that extreme to the ground level? So from where we can get the knowledge of it. I don't really like basic history.
Basic history of what? Of how the special. Why not? It's available online. You don't need to read or watch anything. Just go on Google and search how special forces of India evolved, what all different units are present. Or just like para SF and read their Wikipedia page, all their SF units are mentioned, and go on to the individual SF units. You'll know where they are headquartered, what they specialize in. More details are not available online because of obvious reasons, operational secrecy. Otherwise, whatever you are supposed to know is available online.
Sir, I have maybe 2 questions. The first
You
one
had?
is 2 questions. But the first one is
Last question, huh?
yes.
Okay.
Basically, sir, I see, sir, you are not the man in the clouds. So, sir, the question is, serious is exam, sir, which is not easily cracked by anyone. You have been like a player in all India racket. So, sir, being a cadet or being one cadet from as you have been. So, sir, in this phase, if you were in place of R, so how should you prepare as a person for this exam? And my second question is, what about your ball? I am a ball.
Hmm.
So I want to hear about it.
Okay. Uh, Firstly, if I were back in time and if I was an aspirant now, I would do exactly the same things which I did back then. For a written exam, simple strategies are for you to go through previous year papers, understand where the questions are coming from, what is the level of difficulty, and then based on your core strengths, let's say you're already good in maths and English and you are lagging in GK, focus more on that, prepare your schedule accordingly. See, any exam has a same template. You first understand what the exam requirements are and then see how much time is left and then plan your schedule accordingly. Last 1 month or 1.5, 2 months you leave for revision and second study. But at least in the initial phase, you understand the basic concepts, read books, understand simple subjects which are required. Let's say in GS, 5, 6 major subjects come. So read basic books on it, like polity, there's a standard book called M. Lakshmikant. For history, there is Spectrum. For geography, there is GC Leong. I say there are 6 to 7 books which are followed by every aspirant. These are standard books considered as Bible for that subject. Purchase those books, or if you have access to your library, go start studying. Once you are aware of all the basic concepts, if you are okay understanding the subjects, then you can go on for specific exam requirements. As a CDS, there are areas which UPSC usually focuses on. You will understand those patterns once you start with the basics and then go through previous papers, give some mock tests. You will understand in a better way. After all this, then you can start giving mock tests and then revise, go second round, third round of revision. For an average student, for someone who is not extremely sharp or super gifted, it takes at least 6 months to prepare for 3 years. So if your exam is somewhere in 2027, it's better to start right now. 6 months is the minimum. So if you have 1 year, 2 years, it's even better. So start from that. SSB interview, I told you, your daily routine, your lifestyle, your preparation to become an officer is real preparation. And later, when you actually clear CDS in the last 3, 4 months of your SSB interview, you can prepare with the help of a mentor or with all the knowledge that is available online. You can prepare yourself. IMA ball didn't happen in our course because I told you we were in COVID times. So we didn't invite any partners as dates, but we had a nice party within IMA. We called it IMA breakup party because there was no external invitees were not allowed. We couldn't call our girlfriends dates, etc. But IMA ball in its full glory happened without any females. So yeah, and it was good in our course because if at all there are ladies coming in, then you have to be chivalrous, you have to behave like a gentleman, you have to be graceful. And we were all trained military folks. By the third term, we were all at the peak of our fitness. So you can imagine 4, 5 hours how much we would have danced, sweat. So yeah, it was fun only IMA ball, but yeah, typical ball which you see on social media where girls come in and you invite them, dance with them. That did happen in our course. From our junior course, it was restarted. Yeah, in our course, ball happened, but it was not called ball. It was called IMA breakup party. If you have any more questions, I'm sorry for not answering them here, but you can always DM me. I'm very active on Instagram and WhatsApp. You have the details there. For any question, any point of time, if you have, I'll get back to you within a few hours, most probably. So feel free to disturb me there, trouble me there. And yeah, that'll go. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you guys have any questions, you can just contact sir on his contact number or Instagram. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your inspiring journey and for giving such valuable guidance regarding preparation. Usually, people tend to scare you saying that SSB is a very hard process or something like that. But then, sir just made it very easy and cleared the bubble left in our mind, saying it's just easy, it just tests you and your personality. And yes, as sir rightly said, that being a good son, a good daughter, a sincere student, and a responsible sibling is what truly matters. And I think all these qualities combined in being a good officer. Just be good at whatever you are. Almost everyone has the qualities required to clear SSD, but it's just that many are unaware of their potential. Thank you, sir. Now I call upon Punendra Giri to propose the vote of thanks.
Can you hear me? Very fine afternoon, everybody. I, Punendra Sanjigiri, like to thank Honorable Principal Dr. Kishore Nikam sir and our special guest, Lieutenant Vamshi sir, for giving his precious time. For us, it was like experiencing IMA before experiencing it. Okay, so I'd like to thank Dr. Akbar sir and Reshma Patil ma'am for helping us to organize this beautiful, knowledgeable session. I would like to thank all the club members for putting all their efforts to organize this guest lecture. Now, at last, not the least, I'd like to thank all the students for being present here. You guys were the motivation to conduct this lecture, to teach you about something new and cool, to make you guys fascinate about defense services and defense life. I like to end this session by saying other professions can give you a job, but army gives you life. It teaches you to be how to be comfortable by being uncomfortable. Stay hard, guys. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice day.